I know this might come as a surprise to you all, but I really like RPGs. Did you know that? I say this as fair warning, since the next couple of scripts that I have lined up for future Snek-isodes in no particular order are indeed RPGs. And today's is also a follow-up from a few months back when I covered the first Breath of Fire game because, and this might also be a shock, I really love the Breath of Fire titles. And once more, I'll be recording from the Game Boy Advance remake version of the game just for consistency's sake. And also because after 20 years, my eyes have finally adjusted to the new brightness levels, and now I'm just too stubborn to go back to the SNES version. Alright, enough of that, so join me for a closer look at Breath of Fire 2. Greetings everyone, this is the Hipster Snek, and today we'll be taking a look at 1995's Breath of Fire 2. Re-released for the GBA as mentioned in 2002, Breath of Fire 2 differed from the first game in that Capcom handled the localization themselves this go-around, and the quality of the translation is just about as terrible as the first game's. More on that in just a second. The story this time picks up some undisclosed length of time after the first game's story came to its close. We start as tiny Ryu Bateson, last name actually given this time, in a small peasant village in a JRPG intro, and yeah, we all know where that's headed. Well, after going towards a colossal slumbering dragon, Ryu is attacked by a monster, only narrowly rescued by his father, who explains that the dragon appeared sometime previously for reasons not entirely clear to the villagers. Then, after deciding to take a nap below the dragon to unsettling results, Ryu returns to his quaint peasant village of Gate, only to find no one there even remembers him anymore, and his family is suddenly missing. There, the local priest welcomes him and fellow now orphan Bo in. The two youths decide there's no point in staying any longer and leave for a nearby cave, whereupon a huge demon just flat out kills them both. This story's a lot shorter than I remember it being. Yeah, I'm just kidding. This is an SNES-era Capcom game, so of course we have to start on a forced lost battle. After which we reawaken as working adult versions of Ryu and Bo, who now work as rangers, or hands for hire, and we're tasked with finding a lost pet. Our happy, working bachelor lives are suddenly interrupted when a rich man's house is robbed and Bo must go into hiding until Ryu can catch the real thief. Whereupon Ryu must venture out into the wide world and uncover the truth of both the real thief's whereabouts, but also the dark dealings with the all-too picture-perfect Church of St. Ava, and it's a wild ride, let me tell you. And to start, the game looks great. Breath of Fire games always come bright and colorful, except for no, not you, go away, back down. Whew, that was close. Anyway, the game is vivid and detailed, really taking advantage of that trademark Capcom style. The sprites are simple and effective, and the combat sprites really fluid. And thanks to the Shaman System, whose mechanical effects I'll get into in a little bit, is doubly so, as characters almost all have unique transformations to call their own. The monsters have personality in spades, helped somewhat by the handy monster meter in our menu being a goblin whose frenetic dancing indicates the encounter rate in the local area. I love the aesthetic of these titles, even in areas I love to hate. Looking at you, Forest of the Elder Tree. And audio-wise, it's a Capcom title, of course it has amazing music, I shouldn't even need to qualify this. With amazing fight themes like I'll Do It and Dying Corpse, the combat always feels energetic, even all the while being turn-based. And the overworld themes like We're Rangers and Our Journey make the entire game just ooze personality and style. Special shoutouts going to the all-too-brief White Wings and Memories as the game's hauntingly beautiful tracks that will stick with me for a very long time. And for a bit of trivia, J-pop star Mio Watanabe did a special single, Unending Love, for the game's Japanese commercials, and the song itself is quite lovely too. And mechanically, as said, Breath of Fire 2 is a turn-based RPG in the old-school tradition. You can have up to 4 characters in your party at any given time, and you'll have quite a few to pick from, each with their own gimmicks. Ryu, like before, is of the Dragon Clan and can use the Dragon Morphs, which sadly have been changed for the worse. Since they were so overpowered in the first game, this Ryu has to expend his entire AP pool in order to pull off a one-turn big, flashy dragon attack. I have to assume this means that this Ryu's connection to the dragon must be a bit weaker, and thus he's exhausted just by using the powers in short bursts. He also can engage in the fishing minigame on the overworld, which is a bit more refined this time around as opposed to the first game, which was more just RNG luck. Bo, Ryu's first compatriot, has the field ability to hunt using his crossbow and the shot battle talent, which has low accuracy but guarantees a critical hit if it connects. And he's the first to learn healing magic in the game, but he also gets taken away for a good swath of the plot, so kind of a downside there. Next, Ryu meets Kat, a wild woman who says it's a-okay to say no to pants and serves as the fast, agile fighter. Her dare command causes enemies to be very likely to target her that turn, which is a bit of a double-edged sword when you consider her low HP and defense, but is reflective to her wild and competitive personality. On the overworld, she can also hunt and smash objects using her staff. Next is Rand, the colossal armadillo man who is something of the game's monk class due to his high attack HP and healing spells. His in-battle ability is Wake, which gives a sleeping party member a wake-up call without having to deal a lot of damage to them, and also has a chance of reviving knocked-out party members at 1 HP for no expended AP, but it does have a chance of failing. His map ability allows him to curl into a ball and quickly travel over land with no chance of random encounters until he either stops of his own volition or runs headlong into something. Then there's also this installment's Nina, who is vastly superior to the firsts in all regards, gaining a huge array of combat magic, and with a little effort on the player's part can double as a pinch healer too. Her Will combat ability allows her to restore a small amount of AP, allowing her to continuously stay on the attack, and her map ability is a huge spoiler, and I will not discuss it. Next is Sten, the monkey man, who's the agile attacker. His combat ability is the nigh-useless Rip, which makes him pretend to be knocked out and lowers his defense while in use. The sole upside to it being that it has a very high counterattack hit rate if someone hits him while he's in this prone position. His map ability is the situationally and also temporarily useful ability to stretch out his arms and move the party between stakes set up at certain key spots on the map. And next is Jean, the only character in the game with high defense growth, and is a frog knight with a generally optimistic view of life. He and Ryu actually share some of their available weapons due to this, and his combat ability, Jab, hits all present enemies with a physical attack that reduces an efficacy for the larger number of targets it hits. On the map, he can become the Great Frog and leap over some obstacles and swim through fresh water sources in order to get the party to new areas. Spar is the last character you cannot miss, and also the last character you'll ever want to use because he is objectively terrible. His stats are all low, he gains very little in the way of useful spells that other characters don't already get. His combat ability, Nature, leverages the terrain around him to attack enemies, but it won't work in places where you might actually be inclined to use it, such as dungeons or the entire last leg of the story. And yeah, he's just terrible. But lastly, there's the hidden bonus character, the return of the Snake Sorceress Blue, or rightfully named Dias, as later games correct it to. Her combat ability Shed lets her remove any status ailments and heal to full once per battle at the cost of losing some defense for the rest of the fight in question. But given that she has the highest stat gains in all areas excepting one, it's a pretty small ask. Her field ability is kind of hunting. She does so via localized tactical nuke spell, reducing all wildlife to the useless charcoal item. Oh yeah, also worthy of note is that Ryu and Blue are the only characters who have no shaman forms. And since I brought it up again, let's talk about one of the most interesting mechanics in Breath of Fire 2, the Shaman System. Shamans are women with extremely powerful magical proclivities that align them with one of the game's 6 elements: fire, water, earth, wind, light, and dark. Every character, again excepting Ryu and Dias, have a natural lean towards one element or a pair of them. By returning to your base of operation, after a certain story event unlocks this, and using the right elemental shamans with the right characters, you can transform your party into super forms, which greatly enhance their stats and even give them new powers. I've yet to see any other RPG use a system quite like this one, and if anyone can think of one, do tell me, I'd be really curious to know. So then, by assembling your party, using their individual talents, not using Spar, and using things like your dragon powers and the shaman fusion to their utmost, is how you'll progress in this quirky, heartfelt, and badly translated SNES RPG. Yeah, while I've been gushing, there is one particular flaw that does hold the game back, and some will not be able to ignore it. The translation of the game is abysmal. Like, not just stiff and unnatural, which in many places it is, but also to the point in one recurring instance the yes and no prompts are actually reversed. You heard that correctly. When you go to use Shaman Fusion, you'll be asked for a tutorial and you must tell them no in order to hear it. Will you get the thrust of the plot despite this? Yes you will. But it won't be the smoothest translation job in the world. Now, I want to take this moment to share a personal story because I will never forget this no matter how hard I try. Late in the game, Kat will temporarily leave the party for a story-based reason. During this downtime, she'll ask Ryu if he's mad that she's with the NPC party who is assisting during the story campaign. Now, imagine, if you can, middle school Snek, naive but aware that this game is already kinda quirky at this point, and I respect her autonomy as a functioning adult, so I say no. This brings up the Dragon Tier, a gemstone set into our HUD showing how much characters we interact with, like the protagonist, and my answer making her visibly upset. And then I stare at the screen, completely baffled as to why. So eventually I write this off as, oh, this is a mistranslation like the Shaman room, and that must be why. Yep. Ever since, Itaku likes to say I'm as dense as a shonen protagonist. Can't imagine why. But all translation issues aside, and the fact that Snek doesn't understand what jealousy is, Breath of Fire 2 has been, and remains one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. The broad cast of colorful characters and abilities has long informed my tastes in party-based games, and the care and love put into the game shine through in all the best ways. It's quirky, it's charming, it's full of amazing things to be discovered, and a plotline that's shockingly deep for kicking things out the gate with Find a Lost Pet. It's just an amazing experience, and you should try it for yourself if you ever get the opportunity to play it. And that's the final word on this obscure game. This has been the Destined Snek, bringing to you today another underrated gem. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, it does a lot of good for the channel and it's sincerely appreciated. And make sure to leave a comment down below on your own personal team customizations. I'd be curious to hear them. I use Ryu, Nina, Kat, and Dias. And join me here each week from our obscure reviews, Let's Plays, NDX, the home of the Tomodachi Bros anime podcast, and I will see you there.